Hey, where's the footage? Oh. Welcome to Core Connection. That's a Resonant. I'm Butcherson, aka Face Down in Defense Mode, and this is Mech Talk, the show where the Shadow Realm is just a metaphor for depression and a power source for giant robots. Let's get into it. Yeah, this isn't one of your Japanese animes, though it does take heavy inspiration from such mediums. Hell, the instruction manual's a color manga. Developed by Japanime Games, Core Connection Rise of Atlantis is a 1 to 4 player deck building game where you destroy a monstrous race called the Vril with the aid of MECHA called Resonance and their pilots. It even has its own vague lore to set up the game.
The world could only watch in awe as humanity's greatest threat rose up from the depths of the cold, dark sea. The return of an ancient empire shattered the fragile balance of society.
Sorry, I really wanted to use my cool voice for that one. Basically, Vril came from the ocean and the taxpayers' force in green got eradicated. So now it's up to 7 girls to get the job done. Akari Hino, Japanese high school student with a hot-blooded passion to rescue her sister from the clutches of the Vril. Amelia Hawk, Air Force pilot and American hero. She brings her skills to the front lines at the drop of a hat. Romana Illis, a relaxed researcher and brilliant scientist from Greek descent. She was the first to discover the royal wavelength, whatever that is. Gao Quan, she conducts the battlefield as a business like the billionaire she is, but still has a heart when it comes to family and her employees. I wonder if they get monster attack insurance. Cleo and Patra, treasure hunters and tomb raiders. Their motives are unknown as they jump into the fray. Rasha Dragnov, a Russian mystery. Her personality flips when she's on the battlefield, which is rumored to be because of super soldier experiments. Izuru Hino, with a hot-blooded passion to rescue her sister. Hey, she's alive! Yes, after the initial 7 kings, Japanime released an expansion that adds in more baddies, story, and 2 new pilots with their own resonance. Izuru Hino, an archaeologist that's been breaking ground since she broke out of high school. She took part in research that pursued the mysteries of the resonance. And Inoko, oh god, it's a small demon. Alright, what's her gimmick? Found in the ruins of Atlantis and named by Akari, her memory of her past life is lost to her. But her true form, when in her resonance, is that of Atlantis Amphitrite, the ancient queen of Atlantis, who was sealed away and forgotten. She only lives today because of the body modification making her half mechanical, which seems to be the cause of her memory loss. Damn, for a deck building game, there's a lot to unpack here. Hell, even the expansion has diary entries for each of the original 7, exploring their own struggles away from the Vril. Cleo and Patra have their own sibling scuffle, Gao is struggling with capitalism, and Rasha is debating herself. They could have just given them a name and a mech and called it a day, but they feel like people going through adversity, and that's honestly really cool. But we've covered the pilots. What about the resonance that each pilot resonates with? Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Well, before we get into the resonance themselves, we'll briefly go over the rules of the game so you can understand why these things function the way they do. So each player starts with a starting deck, a prototype mech, and a mysterious pilot. The monsters are lurking over there, and HQ frequently drops stratagems and equipment here. You use your small deck to buy stuff from HQ, and if it's equipment, smack that on your bad boy of a giant robot. After that, you can choose to storm the front lines and take on the baddies. However, you don't know what's there until you go, so you best be sure you're ready to take the risk. Oh, shit. Yeah, there are some monsters that are designed to just f you up in general, not including their stats. Oh shit, I didn't go over the stats. Okay, real quick. So mechs and monsters have 3 things: melee, ranged, and durability. Melee and ranged are attack values that you go into battle with, but can only choose one to fight with. Durability is how much damage you can take before your mech is shut down. So if you're attacking this Vril Trooper with, let's say, Koryu in ranged, the Trooper only has 2 durability to match your 2 range, so ultimately it will bite the dust. However, it's not a turn-based affair. You do trade blows immediately on reveal. So the Trooper gets a hit in with... Okay, this is a bad example, but you get the idea. Now you know the gameplay loop, so here's the mechs. We'll start with the example that we led off with earlier, Koryu, piloted by Gao. It's big, it's yellow, it might be a bird. The design is a bit hard to read, especially since it looks like the chest piece is held up by a cloth bra. Its main shtick is boosting its own economy, letting it buy and spend more than the others. Probably lives on Sesame Wall Street. Next we have the ER-28 Phalanx, piloted by Romana. This gentle green giant has a few spikes and a huge badonkadonk. It doesn't seem to have much consistency with its design choice, but it doesn't look bad. Phalanx can increase all its stats for one turn based on the number of tactics cards you've played on one turn. Next we have Tuzret, dug up and piloted by Cleo and Patra. It definitely gives off the ancient Egyptian vibe from its color scheme to its design aesthetic. It not only vibes with its origin, but with its special effect as well. Usually you can only have 6 pieces of equipment on your mech before you have to start cycling stuff out. But Tuzret can have a total of 8. This synergizes well with Cleo and Patra's ability that lets them dig through the HQ and steal equipment for free. Sventovit, piloted by Rasha. This one has a lot more spikes than Phalanx and has a threatening aura that I personally like. Going with the dark and brooding color scheme, it's one of the only resonants that doesn't play nice with the others. It sacrifices a card from your hand to literally rip equipment off other mechs. You play this character and mech only if you don't want anyone else to have fun. Frontier, in all caps, piloted by America's sweetheart Amelia, is the only mech that was artificially created and not dug up from the ground. This blue blur reflects the pilot well, with an aerodynamic aesthetic and fancy fans for wings. The cleanest of the designs, Frontier can jump into the fray with the first strike ability from Magic the Gathering, letting it do damage before its opponent. Finally, from the main lineup, we have Kanagara, piloted by Akari, which actually looks really cool. Putting the red aside, it's got a design that kind of shows its ancient but advanced descent. It doesn't have any special abilities per se, however its melee stat is boosted to insane levels and has the potential to one-shot God. And then we have our expansion mechs, Resonant Type 0 Reagan and Enos Gaios, did I even say that right? And Enosa Gaios respectively. I won't go too deep into these two since they can be classified as spoiler territory for anyone that wants to play this game, but I'll say that Reagan's design looks cool, but I can't see it for shit, it's too dark. And Enos Gaios is really hard to say, and it has a rad design that reminds me of Evangelion a bit. So after all is said and done, are the resonance and core connection cool? I like to think so, but the art is a little hard to see in the cards. It shows off how gargantuan they are pretty well, but I'd like to see a full body shot of these mechs. Hell, with the origin story pretty much written up, you can make a show based off this. It would be a by the numbers affair, but enjoyable nonetheless. As for the game itself, it's a great time with friends, even if they don't enjoy giant robots as much. The balance is well thought out, and the rush of going into the unknown hoping to come out on top is pretty great. You can find the base game for around $40 with the expansion at about $20, which I'll say while you can get some good times out of the base game by itself, the expansion adds an entirely new dimension not just to your builds, but to the monsters as well. And now I'm gonna go for an attack on the top of the monster deck.
Monkey.